plants deserve more than a chemical diet. Give them the natural power of nature's living soil, packed with organic amendments and living microbes that feed the soil and fuel growth from the roots up. Stronger plants, bigger yields, better results. Shop natureslivingsoil.com and use code WWPGEN10 to get 10% off today. Nature's Living Soil. Feed the soil. Watch life flourish.
Good day, and welcome to WWP Genetics. We're thrilled that you have joined us for another engaging and educational video. Today, I will be discussing exposing destructive tax code 280E. Legal cannabis in America is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Yet for most of its existence, it has been forced to operate as if it were still illegal. For decades, cannabis businesses followed state laws, paid enormous taxes, hired employees, and complied with some of the strictest regulations in the country. Despite that compliance, they were taxed more harshly than any other enterprise. Some legal cannabis retailers did not simply pay high taxes, but they paid some of the highest taxes, ranges from 60, 70, or even 80%. This happened not because they broke the law, but because of a single sentence buried deep inside the federal tax code. That sentence is known as Section 280E, and today, after decades of financial damage, lost businesses, and stalled growth, that sentence is finally losing its power. This is the story of the hidden tax law that nearly destroyed the legal cannabis business, and why its removal may permanently change the industry. To understand why this moment is so important, we need to go back to the beginning. Section 280E was created in 1982 after a convicted cocaine trafficker successfully deducted his business expenses on his federal taxes. That's right, a drug dealer wrote off his scales, his cars, and even his apartment as a business expense. Congress reacted fast. They passed a law saying any businesses trafficking in Schedule 1 or 2 controlled substances could not deduct ordinary business expenses. At that time, cannabis was illegal, so the law barely made any headline. The convicted cocaine trafficker went to court and argued that if the government considered his operation a business, he should be allowed to deduct normal business expenses like rent and payroll. The IRS actually lost that case. At the time, cannabis was illegal everywhere in the United States. There were no dispensaries, no medical programs, and no public cannabis companies. Because of that, the law attracted almost no public attention. What lawmakers did not realize was that decades later, this tax rule would become one of the most destructive forces in the legal cannabis industry. As states began legalizing medical and adult use cannabis, 280E suddenly became a financial weapon pointed directly at the heart of the cannabis industry. Under 280E, cannabis retailers could not deduct rent, payroll, marketing, security, insurance, or utilities. None of the normal costs of running a business. They could only deduct costs of goods sold. That meant while a normal business paid taxes on profit, a cannabis retailer paid taxes on almost its entire revenue. As a result of the tax code, many retailers appeared profitable on paper while losing money in reality. Some operators paid more in federal taxes than they actually earned in income. Unlike other industries, cannabis businesses had no access to traditional banking, no small business administration loans, and no federal relief programs. Every tax payment represented a serious threat to the company's survival. This is why 280E became the single most destructive financial barrier in the legal cannabis industry. It punished compliant businesses while illegal markets thrived. But in the last few years, something remarkable started to happen. States began fighting back. One by one, states like Colorado, New York, New Jersey, and Illinois passed laws allowing cannabis businesses to deduct expenses on their state taxes, even though federal law had not yet changed. This did not eliminate the problem, but it provided relief. Retailers were able to reinvest in their operations, hire additional staff, and expand product offerings. This message was clear. If the federal government would not fix the problem, the state would act in their own accord. Then in December, 2024, and again in 2025, the federal landscape shifted dramatically. President Trump signed an executive order directing the Justice Department to reclassify cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 under the Controlled Substances Act. Once fully implemented, this change removes cannabis from the reach of 280E completely. For the first time in history, cannabis businesses will be treated like normal businesses under the federal law. The transition from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 will not be immediate. It will not take effect overnight. Agencies must complete the ruling process. Regulations must be updated, and the IRS must formally acknowledge that 280E no longer applies. Until that happens, cannabis retailers remain in a strange limbo. Relief is coming, but it's not completely here. The financial implications of removing Section 280E are enormous. A retailer currently paying a tax rate of 70% could soon see it fall closer to 21%, which is the standard federal corporate tax rate. That difference alone can transform struggling businesses into profitable ones, and can fund new locations, improve employee wages, strengthen security, lower prices for consumers, and finally, maybe the legal cannabis industry can compete with the illicit market. Industries are already describing this period as a critical re-rating moment, where normalized taxation leads to higher increased investment and acceleration growth. There is also a medical and scientific dimension to this shift. By moving away from 280E and rescheduling cannabis, the federal government is formally acknowledging that cannabis has medical value. This opens the door to expanded research, improved product standards, and better patient access. Medical cannabis operators will be able to invest more heavily in safety testing and clinical research. Patients may benefit from safer products and potentially lower prices. Beyond medicine, the economic ripple effects are substantial. As cannabis retailers grow, they hire more employees, lease more commercial space, purchase more equipment, and contribute more to the local economies. But maybe the most important impact will be psychological. For decades, cannabis businesses have operated under stigma, uncertainty, and financial punishment. Removing 280E signals normalization. It tells operators they are no longer treated as criminals. It tells investors the industry is stabilizing. And tells consumers cannabis is becoming a legitimate part of the American economy. As we look ahead, the future of cannabis retail is brighter than ever. State-level relief is already helping businesses survive. Federal rescheduling is poised to unlock billions in investment, and the industry is finally moving toward the financial stability it has been denied for decades. This is the turning point. This is the moment the industry has been waiting for. And when the dust settles, the removal of 280E will be remembered as the catalyst that transformed cannabis from a restricted overtax experiment into a thriving mainstream American industry. Ultimately, the removal of Section 280E represents more than a tax change and represents legitimacy. Challenges still remain, including banking reform, interstate commerce restrictions, political opposition, and competition from the illicit market. But the removal of Section 280E is the single most important step towards sustainable, profitable, and equitable cannabis industry. When the history of legalization is written, Section 280E will be remembered as the barrier that held cannabis back, and its removal will be remembered as the moment everything changed. If you know of any other secret tax codes, systems, or laws that are shaping the cannabis industry, leave a comment below and drop a like. This is a turning point for legal cannabis in America. We hope you found today's video educational. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share to stay updated on our latest content. For more exciting insights, be sure to check out our brother channel at WWP Logistics. See you in the next video.